can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, oops. It's supposed to come through my speaker here. Let's try one more time.
Hello?
Yeah, okay, hang on a second.
Can you hear me now?
I think that's better. Oh, there we go. How's that?
Can you hear me?
Much better, thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, this is what's the story is the fact that we were given network access. However, the credentials are not working. Therefore, no network access. The plan B was that I would have a copy of Sue's PowerPoint, and based on cues given by Sue, would advance the slides. Now, to cue the time, I will let Sue know that when we're at green, yellow, and red. And it'll be simple words, Sue.
All right.
Okay. And
Okay.
yeah.
Oh. All right, Sue, let's just go over the time. So I understand you're going to have 10 to 15 minutes to make the presentation.
20?
20. Yeah.
I'm looking at 10 to 15.
There's
And
a
5
mistake on
minutes
the
for the
agenda.
backup. What times are you looking at, Sue? Can you hear me? No? Can you hear me?
Barely.
Barely. Okay, what time do you have for the
20
present?
minutes total for the presentation and Q&A, and then the evaluation will be separate, correct?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, 20 minutes
All right,
total.
excellent.
Okay, very good. Then I have an introduction for Sue. Our first speaker is Sue Haun, the immediate past Division D governor, and she's making the final presentation of her HPL project, which was her term as Division G governor. The objective of the term, which ended past June, was to achieve President's distinguished Division G. She will provide the results of the project, whether or not it was successful or contributed to its success, obstacles, how they were overcome, and her learning as Division Governor. After the presentation will be a brief Q&A. As a note, the Guidance Committee members were pretty much in this room: past District Governor Gene Cunningham rather, District HPL Chair Terry Johnson, past Area 10 Governor Carol Hale, and past Division G Governor Kathy Taylor. On their email, she has a note: success is not a result of spontaneous combustion. You must set yourself on fire. Please welcome Sue Haun. Good luck, Sue.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and good evening, Leadership Committee members and fellow Toastmasters. I am so excited to be here with you tonight via teleconference to do the final presentation of my High Performance Leadership Project. This is actually my last step to getting my ALS and therefore my DTM, and I am so happy. My HPL project was my term as Division G Governor, which just ended in June. Next. As part of this presentation, I'll define the overarching objective of my HPL project, the other performance measures used by the team, and what contributed to the project's success. You'll also hear about obstacles we encountered and how or if they were overcome, as well as a little bit about myself and what I learned as a leader. Are you still there?
Still here.
Okay, we're getting some feedback. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions immediately following the presentation, and I'm really looking forward to your questions and your insights as well. Next. The overarching objective of my HPL project as Division G Governor was achieving President's distinguished division. And as you may be aware, that objective was achieved. Next. By the end of the year, we had 8 clubs that achieved distinguished status, and we added 1 club called Humble Day Toastmasters up in Eureka. Next. There were also other performance measures besides those required to achieve President's Distinguished Division that were also the focus of the Division support team. Our aim was to have a 10% increase in members of the division, to build the Division G community by promoting participation in local events, and to have at least 80% of our officers trained in each of the 2 training periods. We also focused on promoting high-quality contests. My focus was on supporting and developing the area governors. And together, we focused on readying our successors. Next. And as you can see from the slide, we were successful. Our membership increased by 8%. We got people out to local Toastmaster events, which we measured through contest participation. We had 11 local trainings, and as a result, had 80% of our officers trained in the summer session and 67% in the winter session. We distributed a contest kit on TV to facilitate quality contests, and this was provided to each one of the clubs. And we helped ready our successors by providing a 3-hour training ourselves in Sonoma County with almost everybody in person before the June Beckham training. And it was our intent to give some Division G tips and tools and help our successors have really good terms that get off on the right track. So this was a really successful year for the G team. I'll talk about the support and development of the area governors in the following slide. Next. There were a number of things that contributed to the project's success. Next. Next. The first and most important key has to do with completing the Division G success plan, primarily defining results or measurable outcomes, which ultimately guided the work of the team throughout the year. Next. Setting up a meeting and communication with the area governors was also key. By our first meeting, we had established every one of our monthly meeting dates for the year. We correlated those with the Beckham dates, and we also set our contest dates. We made agreements on how we would support each other, for example, by responding to requests for information or requests for assistance in no more than 3 working days. And these agreements were all defined in writing in the Division G success plan. Next. The third key was having the area governors complete the area success plan. And their only requirement, they could add more if they wanted, but the only requirement was to translate the division goals to which they had helped develop and agree to into strategies and actions specific to their area. Next. The fourth key was that monthly meetings focused on division objectives and results, as well as training the area governors. In addition, each area governor had time on the agenda, not only to report stats or what was going on, but also to indicate things that they were really proud of and to talk about where they needed some support. Next. Relationship building included not only providing time for each area governor in the meetings, but I personally committed as a division governor to attending each area contest and made personal contact with each area governor in between meetings. And this helped me to create a relationship with each of them to reflect my willingness to help them and support them, and I think effectively help them bond to me as division governor. Next. And the sixth and the final key was a focus on underperforming or at-risk clubs. 3 clubs ended up becoming our focus 2/3 into the year. One was not meeting the 8-member minimum for dues, and the other 2 were not meeting their membership requirements. We ended up focusing on them through frequent communication, emails, phone calls, providing support to the officers, and mentoring. And as a result, turned these 3 clubs around. The one club met its 8-member minimum, the other 2 became distinguished, and as a result, the division became president distinguished as well. Next. Now, there were a number of obstacles and challenges that happened during the year, some of these were overcome and some of these were not. Next. Despite having 8 clubs achieve distinguished status, the total number of DCT goals achieved across the division compared to the previous year actually decreased. Low-performing clubs struggled under weak leadership. Sometimes clubs don't embrace the DCT, but most often they don't know how to operationalize it or make it part of the officer's agenda. And sometimes clubs are struggling with infighting and power struggles among the officers. So these stats happen despite all of the officer training and the area visits and communication by the area governors. Next. This slide is a different view of the DCT stats and the club's distinguished status. There should be 2 charts, one showing DCT goals by area on the left, and on the right, the distinguished status by club per area. Just to give you a little bit different perspective. As I mentioned, we overcame the barriers to achieving President's Distinguished Division by focusing on 3 clubs towards the end of the year, and this helped them to meet their membership requirements. Next. Another obstacle is the geographic size of Division G. There are 225 miles between the northernmost and the southernmost clubs. Next. There's significant travel time between areas. Next. And even within areas. And as a team, we in part overcame this obstacle by conducting our meetings via teleconference at first, and then video conference later, and even trying to get together in a meeting in person in Sonoma County. We did this once, and even though everybody enjoyed it and wanted to do it again, actually scheduling and working out the logistics of people being so far apart was just too challenging for us to do it again. And as a result, the area governors did not really bond to one another. Next. The third obstacle was that the area governors did not really understand their role and what the expectations were. This pointed to what happened during recruitment. It also pointed a little bit to training, as well as the individual self-motivation of the area governors. This particular issue was partly overcome by supplying training during the monthly meetings and through one-on-one conversations outside of the meetings with individual area governors. There was lots of training provided at DECA, but my experience was that the area governors needed the information about a month earlier because they were already processing. Well, how do I need to put in reports in July before they even conducted their area visit, as an example? Next. The fourth obstacle was really the workload issues for the area governors. There is a lot to get off the ground in the first 3 months, especially with the travel distance in Division G, and this was particularly overwhelming for the area governors. In fact, one area governor almost quit in early August because she was so overwhelmed she didn't know what to do first. And I ended up just talking her off that ledge by setting some priorities, defining the minimal requirements that she should do in her role, and some very specific action steps for moving forward in the following months. And that really helped her move ahead, and she was one of the best team members as a result through the remaining part of the year. Next. The final obstacle that I want to share was really a lack of awareness on the part of the area governors of a real ability that they had to make a difference with the club. In a leadership assessment that was completed by the area governors in December and in May, there were comments from them like, we did all of the things that we could within our control. Well, these kind of comments indicated to me that they didn't really understand the correlation between them communicating with clubs educating them, mentoring the officers, and establishing relationships as being related to the success of the club. And this really did show in the performance differences among the area governors in the slide that I showed you previously that showed PCP goals achieved by area. Next. So we've been talking about obstacles to the project success and how or if they were overcome. Now we'll talk a little bit about my pre and post leadership skills profile and what I learned as a division governor. Next. You should be seeing a bar chart on the slide which indicates the results of my leadership skills profile at the beginning of my term and at the end. The 6 dimensions of leadership are indicated under each pair of bars. As a result of the pre-assessment, I knew that I had work to do in each area, each dimension. However, the 3 areas I focused on most that I thought would make the most difference with a team were, first, the area or the dimension of support, which included keeping informed on progress, using resources wisely, managing the time of the team well. The second area of focus was development, and this included providing learning experiences as well as training and coaching the area governors. And the third area of focus was persuasion, communicating the big picture to the Division G team and calling attention to the goals. And as you can see from my pre and post-test scores, by the end of the year, I thought I had really improved the most in the area of development, and I think this reflects my shift in thinking and focus of mentoring and training the area governors during our regular meetings. So I learned a lot as a division governor, and some of the most important learnings were these. Might have to click again for the next. My first learning was that I really had more leadership skills than I thought. Now, I don't mean this egotistically, but this awareness helped me have confidence, especially when I got pushback from the area governors. Next. The second learning was that a focus on division-wide objectives and results, not process or effort, was really key. This helped to keep things objective, to avoid power struggles among the group, and to minimize conflict among the team.
You're at 15 minutes.
Thank you. The third learning was that praising and recognizing team members for the achievements, the results that is, not effort, was really important. By recognizing them, it not only had a positive effect on them, but it also had a halo effect on everyone that witnessed that recognition. Next. The fourth issue, or the fourth learning, is that framing was really important with the area governors. I got lots of arguments about why we can't put in a new club, and why it wouldn't work, and long emails about what were all the dilemmas. And I politely dug in my heels and said, we spent all of our time talking about why we can't do it, but it's not an option. We've got to put in a new club. Now let's focus on how we're going to make this happen and who wants to help make it happen. And that worked, shifting the focus of the team. Next. The final thing I want to share is that no one approach to leadership fits all situations. Sometimes I made the decision. Sometimes I was democratic. Sometimes I was directive. And sometimes I was really persistent and didn't take no for an answer. And what I learned is that ultimately I needed to have a varied skill set and be able to pull out the right leadership approach to match the situation. So that's a brief summary of my learnings as a division governor and what contributed to my division governorship being my most rewarding experience as a Toastmaster yet. Next. Now I'd like to open it up for questions.
Please try and direct your comments at the phone. Sue will hear them and give a pause. Who's first? Ken?
I think your speech was great, but I'd love to see a picture of you.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Ken Riccio, right? No.
Bukowski.
Kolkowski was saying he'd love to see a picture of you. Ken, that was because we didn't have the internet. Otherwise, we would have had Sue on video.
Okay.
17 and a half.
17 and a half. Next question. Question regarding the project. Allison.
Hi, Sue. I love that last comment about how you changed your leadership style to match the situation. Could you give us an example of that, of what you mean?
Let's see. One example was what I mentioned about being really directive about having to put in the new club. Another example was when I was really focused on results and focused the team on results, but some of the area governors needed to be lifted up and point out what they were doing right. And so I shifted the focus of rather on looking at results, but looking at what they were doing. And this helped them actually perform better.
Sue, question. This is Tyree Johnson. How did the HPL process help you? Could you have been successful without doing the HPL?
That's a great question. Thank you. I am personally a high achiever, so I would have tried very hard as a division governor without an HPL project or committee. However, I feel I learned so much more and got so much more rich information and learning as a result of doing an HPL project and having a guidance committee. I don't think I would have reflected on quite as much depth without their help. So I really appreciated that. It made my experience much richer.
So quickly, would you recommend it for upcoming leaders in District 57?
I highly recommend it. In fact, I think it would be a great district policy to require division governors to do high-performance leadership projects as their division governorship.
Savitha.
So this is Savitha. I was just wondering if one of your obstacles was the camaraderie between the area governors.
I actually couldn't hear that question.
Savitha was questioning if one of the obstacles was the camaraderie between the different area governors.
20 minutes.
I think the obstacle was actually the geographic distance.
Oh.
Because they all were present at the online meeting, but they just didn't bond with one another because they didn't see each other enough, have enough different kinds of interaction. They saw me, and so they had more of a relationship with me as a result.
And Sue, we're at the limit of your time. Any last closing comment?
Just a couple. One, I want to say thank you so much for making time for this presentation on your agenda. I really appreciate it. And I want to express thank you to my guidance committee members. I know Jean is in the room and Tyree is in the room. And I really want to say thank you to each of you, as well as to O'Hale and Kathy Taylor. I couldn't have got through this without you guys.
Awesome.
Thank
Let's
you,
hear it for
Sue, you
Cal.
did a great job.
Good job. Mr. Toastmaster.
If we could take a couple minutes to write her